Well, we're down here in the zone technique at the bottom of the hill that leads to the finish line of Vire Normandie. It's been chaotic and fast and extremely hot. But right in the thick of the action, and let's go over to Daniel. He's right up there, I think, where Ben Healy has just claimed an extraordinary victory.
Thanks, guys. We have finished our usual rounds of the team buses. Some more intrigue today. Well, it looks as though it was going to be pretty straightforward for the GC group coming in. It looked as though Van der Poel had the yellow jersey sewn up and Pogačar was going to get his wish. He was going to relinquish the yellow jersey. But while we were conducting those interviews, speaking to Simon Yates, notably when he came in, well, it was all sort of kicking off. And we didn't really realise the extent to which it did kick off until we looked at the time gaps and realised that Van der Poel had only got the yellow jersey by 1 second. And well, it was an interesting tactical battle again between these teams, Visma, Lisa Bike and UE Team Emirates. Make no mistake, these teams, I don't think, maybe to say they don't like each other is overstating things, but the rivalry is real. I've seen it at the Dauphiné a couple of months ago, seen it here as well. And Tadej Pogačar, he did speak to the press briefly after the stage, and he said, well, I don't really know what Visma were doing in the first couple of hours. They were making it really, really hard, and then they were riding hard at the end. He said maybe they had information that Mathieu van der Poel was really weakening, and they thought they could keep him in the yellow jersey. So there's definitely a lot of psychological warfare still going on, and that will continue. I think just talking about psychology, it was noticeable when the Visma riders were doing their warm down just how good the mood was. A stark contrast to yesterday when Matteo Jorgensen came in and it was all sort of glum faces, and today Jorgensen, well, he was effervescent on the turbo trainer, warming down, joking with Vingegaard, Grisha Nierman as well, sharing some of the jokes, the direct sportif. So they certainly had a better day today, we'll say that.
Well, I guess, I mean, there's a feeling, I don't know if you share this feeling, David, that Ben Healy belongs to that kind of category of riders who are going to win a stage of the Tour de France one day. It doesn't feel entirely surprising. It feels fantastic. I mean, it's a wonderful performance, but I'm not surprised.
Yes and no, a little bit, because it seemed like he was forever making the same mistakes in his racing. He was attacking at the wrong times and choosing the wrong stages, wanting it too much, particularly last year's Tour de France, and I think we've seen in a lot of races. So to see him come here, I mean, I think we knew he had the wherewithal to do it. Yep. But it's one thing having the wherewithal and knowing how to do it. And he really seems to have come in today with a totally different attitude. Yeah. Still raced very similarly, so aggressive. I mean, almost too much. You know, he was in the first attack of the day and then just there the whole time. But he waited and he bided his time. And when he went was literally the perfect moment. I mean, it couldn't have been more perfect. And it was a brave move, and I think to pull it off. But then the exceptional thing was how he rode after he'd broken free. Oh. I mean, that was unexpected. I thought he'll get to a minute and then he's going to battle to hold a minute, and they'll come back at him and he'll lose time in the final climb.
Especially a duo like Simmons and Storer, that's a class double act.
Well, the whole quality of that move.
I mean, never mind the rest.
It was an amazing move, and that's why it was brave. And that's the thing with Ben Healy as well, because he is a type of rider. He's not a pure sprinter. He's not a pure time trialist. He's not a pure climber. He's not a GC racer. He's not one of the cobbled monuments. He's this rider that sits in between, really good at everything. But the only way he can win, because he doesn't have a sprint, is to win solo. And that's the hardest thing to do. And the way he did it today was just pure domination. And I think now marks him as being one of the best riders in the world. He's found his speciality and he's created it.
And the difference between the madness and genius for Healy is legs. Yeah. Isn't it? So like what he did at the Tour de France last year kind of backfired and never did anything. But when he comes with the same, it's not tactically the same, but when he comes in the form that he's obviously got, then all of a sudden, bang, he opens the door. And it is kind of, as Simon Yates, I think, acknowledged, unanswerable. Yeah,
and I think what was interesting, in a way, a rider like Healy doesn't get many chances like that because he'll be marked and they'll know. And I think last year perhaps gave him a little window of opportunity because he'd done it so many times and it hadn't worked, that they saw him and they hesitated. But especially when you see the quality of that group, they all thought, well, we're still super strong, we'll be able to bring him back. 43 Ks from the finish. But that's the thing with Healy, he's so I mean, you used the word unorthodox, but in so many ways. I mean, he's a diminutive figure, he's a small guy, but on the flat he can still rip incredibly fast because he's so marginal gained regards. He's always in a speed suit, he's always got the aero socks on, he's got his position dialed in. He knows, as a breakaway rider and a solo rider, his big advantage is going to be his aerodynamics, and it showed today.
Absolutely, and he's got himself in the top 10 of the general classification. Let's have a look at how things stand now. Yeah, there he sits now in 8th place at 2 minutes and 1 second down. I don't know if that necessarily suits him actually to be in the top 10 because he'll be a little bit more of a marked man henceforth, so he might have to lose a little bit more time in the stages to come. Be interested to see if he has a tilt at the King of the Mountains competition. Big change though on GC. He's clearly at the top of the leaderboard. Mathieu van der Poel 1 second and he's back in the jersey.
Yeah, I mean we didn't see it at the end because at the time gaps with about 15 kilometres to go, it was still 6 minutes 50. And then we have no idea, we'll have to find out. But I'm guessing, because we didn't get any, the director of the images didn't show us what was going on in the peloton. But it looks like Visma Lease Bike may have put the hammer down in the last 15Ks.
We don't know. We've got a feeling Campanarts did a Campanarts, right?
And because the motivation for that is to put Pogacar back in the yellow and have him endure the inconvenience of podium, doping control, media. And they almost did it, but not quite.
It was so close. Crazy day of racing, really, but one man came out on top, and that was Ben Healy.
Sorry, I mean, congratulations. I mean, that was, I was going to say it was a small masterpiece, but it was quite a big masterpiece. You had to form the breakaway, you and Quinn Simmons, twice, and then they kind of wouldn't let you get away, so you had to really believe.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a tough battle right from the start, and definitely spent a lot of energy getting into that breakaway, and then even more energy trying to keep it away. So, but I had really good legs today, and this was definitely a stage that I've targeted from the start, and being able to take it pretty easy the past few days. So, yeah, just plan worked out perfectly, I guess.
What a plan it was. Mathieu van der Poel, obviously, in the breakaway, and bunch of really strong riders. So you had to anticipate the riders who were going to anticipate. So you went really early.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, that's what I'm best at, is just holding a long, steady effort and getting aero. And yeah, I just knew I needed to catch them by surprise and find that moment. I managed to find that moment perfectly, and then I knew it was just head down and race to the finish.
Final climb?
Yeah, it was. I was enjoying myself, and then I hit that final climb, and I wasn't enjoying myself so much. So, really made me work for that last bit.
Listen, where does this stand in your very impressive year and career so far? Nice Tour de France stage win.
I mean, it's at the top, that's for sure.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ben. Fantastic.
Well, unbelievable crowds out in Normandy today enduring this glorious, the return of high summer to France. Really very hot here, and huge crowds all the way through today. Actually, during our live programme, we heard from an Al, didn't we? Al Murray, talking about Normandy and the Normandy landings. Let's hear, though, from another Al who's been out and about. In fact, he, amongst a bunch of other people, have been riding Le Loop, so riding the entire route of the Tour de France a week ahead of the race. Let's hear from Al.
Hi, my name's Al Crane. I'm just outside of Toulouse on stage 11 with the Le Loop 2025 crew. We are riding the full Tour de France route 1 week ahead of the pros in aid of the William Waits Memorial Trust. The charity is all about helping young disadvantaged people make great life choices, get back on the straight and narrow if they've fallen away from the straight and narrow, and give them the opportunities that perhaps some of us take for granted. Say hello to the crew, everybody.
Vive la Tour!
Vive la Tour! And we want to say we're going to miss the ITV coverage when it goes. We really enjoy watching it, and all the crew, so looking forward to the last year.
Well, thanks a lot for your kind words, Al, and indeed for all of the feedback, really, we've had, pretty much. Not all of it.
Most of it.
That would be mad. No, we've had some really nice feedback over the first 6 days of this race, so thanks, Al. And if you want to support Al in his cause, the William Waits Memorial Trust is the charity that he is raising money for, and we'll put a link below this if you want to support him and make a donation. Right, on to your questions for Stage 6. Patrick Ford asks, and again, I'm sight reading these, Visma Lease Bike, what would plan B be?
Well, I think we saw it a little bit today. They raced incredibly aggressively. So I think stage wins, number one, and just disrupt the race seems to be what they're up to.
Yeah.
That seems to be plan B.
Yeah. It's quite similar to Plan A.
Quite similar, but they've raced quite defensively before.
Yeah.
Normally they go later.
Sure, that is true. A tweaked Plan A,
Tweaked
A
plan.
and a half.
Yes.
Nick Rennis writes, MVDP, Mathieu van der Poel, going for the green jersey this year, question mark?
I think today answered that question because he went for the intermediate sprint, got second, and then ended up in the breakaway and got more points advantage on his competitors. So yeah, I think he is.
And do you know what? It strikes me on days like that when Van der Poel gets himself in a move. In the past, he's kind of, when he's felt that he's not going to win the stage, it's been like, why am I here? But it's an extra motivation now for him to actually get to the finish line, pick up a sixth and a fifth and bits and pieces like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big deal, the green jersey. And I think the team is a gaping hole without Philipsen. He's already won a stage. He's won yellow jersey twice now. So he can have fun. I mean, I don't know if it's fun doing the green jersey, but it looks like he's trying.
Yeah, all right. Lego Bloggist asks, given that riders' bikes will be customised to the nth degree, if they have to grab a neutral bike after a puncture or accident, do those neutral bikes come in a variety of sizes, or do they just have to make do with what they get until the team can replace it?
Yeah, they do, and they have adjustable saddles, and I think you have the choice of pedals as well. But it's very much a last case resort because
I
can't remember.
It's awful. I literally can't. I mean, it must have happened, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it happens extremely rarely for the very reason that you may as well be getting on a shopping bike. They're there for absolute worst case scenarios, and then you hope you're only going to do 500 meters or a K on it until your car turns up. So very rare. They do try to set them up, but it's a last cause.
Yeah, it's basically mobile advertising, really, isn't it? Clive Smart asks, do most roads in the Tour get new tarmac ahead of the stage? Well, I don't think it's most, but it's occasional, isn't it? It did look like
it's bad. I think it's bad they replace it.
Yeah.
So I think you often see little country roads that have got fresh tarmac.
Yeah, and it looked like the finish line here was freshly tarmacked, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's more of a Giro thing, actually, because sometimes the quality of the roads in Italy is awful. You said it. Mike Hope and Ben Williams asked the same question. You just said a cyclist has switched to a black jersey. Wouldn't that make things worse rather than making it better? Please explain. Yeah, it was Julien Alaphilippe switching from the blue and white of Soudal Quickstep to black. And black is not a colour you want to be riding in these conditions.
I don't think it's proven to actually have a difference with the materials they're using. Because I remember Sky were in black and they'd done the testing. And so, I don't think it actually makes a difference when you're riding along and you've got super lightweight materials, oddly.
Okay. All right, keep your questions coming. Hashtag your tour. Don't forget, every day we are doing our Never Strays Far podcast in a car as we transfer to our next hotel. And tonight it'll feature
Jacopo and Alex.
Is Alex in the car with us?
He is actually.
Yeah,
we changed hotels.
Okay, so a rotating sequence of guests in the Never Strays car. And keep watching today at the Tour. And I'm going to leave you with this. We ran it in the live show, this interesting little mystery that relates to a book that I purchased in a second-hand bookshop a couple of years ago. So a couple of years ago, I made a purchase in my local branch of Oxfam in South London that was, at the same time, just a wonderful thing, but also sparked off a minor mystery that almost directly relates to the route of Stage 6 of the 2025 Tour de France. I'll explain, but the starting point is this beautiful picture encyclopedia of France that was published exactly 100 years ago. Part of the Horizon de France editions, it runs to almost 300 pages, every one of which reveals another simply beautiful sepia study of French architecture and landscape, many of which overlap with Tour de France history. For example, there's the mythical Col d'Izoire and the village of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, where Stage 16's intermediate sprint is this year. As I leafed through it though, I started to notice a number of curious little doodles in purple crayon. They looked as if someone had been practicing their initials, an S maybe, and perhaps a B. It was only when I got to the marbled end papers that I found their author. There was the full signature of a certain Sergeant Victor E. Brown and the words, "Somewhere in France, August the 11th, 1944. And as if this wasn't curious enough, I then discovered some more writing, in a different hand, inside the front cover. This book was found on the roadside some distance southeast of Vire on the 12th of August 1944, having apparently been abandoned by American troops. Sergeant Brown's name is at the back. Vive la France. Now, the dates do tally. The Norman town of Vire fell to the Allied advance on August the 9th, 1944, at the hands of the 116th Infantry Regiment, the US 29th Division. It is possible that this Sergeant Brown was one of those troops who were part of Operation Bluecoat, which set out to secure the road between Vire and the first categorised climb of the day, Mont Pinson, which was the scene of a bloody battle. Well, I eventually got an email address for the archives of the US 29th and sent off a request for information about the fate of this Sergeant Brown. I also contacted a number of different US military resources, but so far, to no avail. So who exactly was Sergeant Brown? I mean, it's worth saying he may not have actually existed, but on the other hand, he may well have really existed. So far, I've drawn a blank in my inquiries, but if any of you out there want to pursue your own investigations and try and figure out why he might have been close to the finish line in Vire in August 1944, I'd be very grateful. You have until the end of the Tour de France to find out.